287. We're going to begin our meeting this evening with a roll call and determination of quorum. And I'd like to invite our court clerk, Crystal Brackey, to please call the roll.
Ruthie Dallas.
Yes. Here.
Regina Neville.
Yes. Here.
Shannon Andreessen.
Here.
Michelle Kuntz.
Here.
Jackie Mosqueda Jones.
Here.
Crystal Brackey is here. Ann Casey. Sarah Johansson.
Here.
And Andrea Keene.
And welcome, Andrea.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And we do have a quorum this evening. It's possible that a couple of additional board members may be able to join us, so we'll welcome them when they're able to arrive. We're going to have a nominating committee report. I will preside as chair until the election of officers at the conclusion of this report. And then after the election, the new chair will preside over the remainder of the meeting and the general meeting to follow. So at this time, we'll have an election for a board chair. It would be my pleasure to nominate Crystal Brackey as chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Michelle Kuntz. Are there any other nominations for board chair? Are there any other nominations for board chair? Are there any additional nominations for board chair? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second for Crystal Brackey as board chair. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Crystal.
Thank you.
And thank you. I guess in terms of, do you want to do the rest of the nominations?
Yes.
Or I will just, ready to go?
I think so. I am ready to go. I will apologize in advance for being a little bit out of practice for chairing meetings. So be patient with me as I get my chair legs back under me. But next on the agenda is election of board vice chair. We'll wait a moment. Hello.
Welcome, Francesca.
Mm.
Hi, I'm Regina Neville. No, it's totally fine. Welcome. We are just beginning the organizational meeting, and we're so glad to have you here.
Yes. Thank you. It's a pleasure and an honor to be able to join you.
Welcome.
I'm Crystal. Francesca, I was No, I was just elected chair. So I'm taking over from Regina and was just about to actually nominate Regina to serve as vice chair. And a little bit of background on this is that Regina has agreed to stay on the 287 board. Is it to or through June?
Through June 30th.
And then Edina will have a new representative to 287 at that time. And in talking about this, we actually felt like it could be very helpful as we're thinking about lots of different types of transitions here at 287 as far as our leader, as far as being on the board, to have some continuity. And Regina graciously agreed to continue as vice chair so that I think in many ways she and I will sort of be co-leading the board and working closely with both Sandy and our incoming superintendent, Marcy Dowd, over the next several months to really hopefully thoughtfully plan that process together. So I will be chair. I am gladly nominating Regina to be vice chair, and she has agreed to serve in that capacity. Is there anything that you would want to say before I see if there's a second?
Yep, I think that's a great introduction. Thank you.
Okay, so is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there any other nominations for vice chair?
I have just a procedural question.
Okay.
Is it appropriate for if people want to nominate themselves for a position
Yes.
that they do so now?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So I made one call, I believe. A second call. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Are there any other nominations for vice chair? All right, there is a motion and a second to have Regina Neville as our vice chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you.
Mhm.
Next is election of board clerk. Are there any nominations for the role of board clerk?
I would like to nominate Shannon Andreessen.
And is there a second?
A second.
And Shannon, are you willing to serve?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other nominations for board clerk? Are there any other nominations for board clerk? And third time's the charm. Are there any other nominations for board clerk? Okay, we have a motion and a second to have Shannon Andreessen serve as board clerk. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And then last but not least, the election of board treasurer. Are there any nominations?
I would like to nominate Ruthie Dallas.
Thank you.
Is there a second? And Ruthie, are you willing to continue serving?
Yes.
Great, thank you so much. So we have a motion and a second for Ruthie Dallas to continue as board treasurer. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Third time, are there any other nominations? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ruthie, thank you for continuing to
Thank you.
serve as chair. So now we are moving on to the very exciting business of having our two new board members take their oath of office. So Francesca and Sarah, we are so thrilled that you are with us and have agreed to serve in such an important capacity for Intermediate District 287, in addition to the work that you do for your home district. I believe you have the oath printed in front of you. I will read alongside you, and you can just, of course, state your name where we get to that, second word in the language. Are you ready?
We say it at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear, I will not swear, I will affirm.
Great, thank you. Would you like to stand up if you are able? And suggesting that we do this officially. Okay. I do solemnly
affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and that I will faithfully and justly perform and discharge all duties of the office and trust which I now assume as a member of the board of the Intermediate School District 287 to the best of my judgment and ability.
Thank you. Congratulations. Welcome. We are excited to get to know you and all that you bring and your perspectives to the Intermediate District 287 board. And there is an oath of office form that Juanine will make sure that she gets from you by the end of the evening. Okay, we now move on to organizational business and a slew of action items of the routine steps that we take at the beginning of the year to keep the district operating smoothly. So first up is the meeting schedule for the year. That is in the board packet. Meetings are held on the second and fourth Thursdays, except for the months of April, July, August, November, and December, when the schedule adjusts for holidays and winter break. Is there a motion to approve the meeting schedule for the year? So moved. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion, a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Next up is a motion to waive the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance, which was originally done by the board in June of 2003. A motion is necessary to continue to waive recitation of the pledge. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I am forgetting to vote myself. The chair also votes aye. The motion passes. We move into a number of different finance related items. The first up is appointment of assistant treasurer and authorization for payment of claims. Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Point of information,
Sure.
can all these be approved at once or they have to be approved individually?
I believe historically we have done them individually. Is that correct?
I believe we have done them individually, but Ann Becker, is it possible for you to give us a little guidance?
Could you please repeat the question?
We can't hear you, Anne.
You can't hear me?
No, we still can't hear you. It doesn't
You are
look like you're
unmuted.
muted though.
Can you hear me now?
Feel free to also type in the chat, and somebody who can see the chat could read it out loud for us. That would be another way to go about it.
It may be that whomever is in control of the Zoom will have to unmute her if there's a
Yeah.
setting for everybody to be muted.
Yeah, this is unusual. We don't usually have.
Hold on. Especially not with these
Yeah.
administrators.
Oh, yes. So, and the question that Sam asked is whether or not we needed to actually do all of these as individual motions. I know that there are some that are resolutions, and so we should do those separately for certain. But I think the question is whether, for example, 3-A through 3-H could be done as a slate.
That can be done.
Okay.
successfully.
So,
Cool.
with that,
Could you read out what the comment response was?
Yeah.
thank you. The response from Anne in Google Chat was that she believes that they can be done as a slate. So with that, I think I would propose grouping 3.2A through 3.2H as one slate of motions together, and then we will do the rest individually given the resolutions that are involved.
A second? Or was there a motion? Were you intending to?
No,
make
that
the
was my
motion?
proposal. So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Sam.
And I'll second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. And this is again 3.2A through 3.2H.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the motion passes. Thank you, Sam. We move on to a resolution for the superintendent to execute contracts for January 2021 through December 20, I believe that should be 2022.
Yes.
Okay, so let's update that language to show that it is a resolution for January 2022 through December 2022. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And is this as a resolution? Shannon, as our clerk, will do the roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair Brackey. Director Andreessen votes aye. Crystal Brackey.
Aye.
Ann Casey.
Aye.
Ruthie Dallas.
Aye.
Sarah Johansson.
Aye.
Michelle Coons.
Aye.
Jackie Mosqueda Jones.
Aye.
Regina Neville.
Aye.
Francesca Pagan Omar. Did I say that correctly?
Pagan Umar?
Pagan Umar. Thank you.
Aye.
And Sam Sant.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is approved. We will move on to 3.2J, which is appointing Ann C. Becker as general counsel and then other legal counsel selected by the superintendent as necessary to conduct the business and protect the legal interests of the district. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye and the motion is approved. Next, and this is one that I always like to do independently as well, just because it is related to us as board members and our compensation. And so since January 2017, there has been the same compensation for board members and an additional stipend for the board chair. The proposal is for that rate to remain the same. And then there's also information about a federal mileage rate should people choose to be reimbursed for mileage for district business. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second? So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering, how do we usually go about assessing the need to increase, or was it some kind of analysis done on whether to increase the amount?
I believe that was the case, and somebody with more historical knowledge can certainly chime in, but I think that there was a compensation study done, and at some point, a move was made to shift to a flat rate for the board compensation instead of having it be on a per meeting attended rate. If I remember that correctly, Michelle, is there more you would like to add?
Well, we used to have committees, and those committees, they paid like $50 a meeting.
Mhm.
And then when we reduced everything, we used to be twice, 2 from each member district. And then I think the last one, I can't remember what the date was, but again, I keep going back to the neither lead nor lag.
Mhm.
And so a study was done of our member districts, and we came to that as an equitable amount of compensation to cover expenses and so forth.
And how do we stand with other intermediates?
That's me.
May, I don't know if you can hear the question or if you have insight into this or anybody else as part of the team who might have additional knowledge, but Ruthie's question was whether we know where our compensation stands in comparison to other intermediate school districts, I believe.
Yeah, I did hear the question. Thank you for repeating it.
Yes,
Um,
actually, May was trying to speak, but we can't hear her. So again, we are having some audio problems. While we're getting that sorted out, go ahead, Regina.
I'm just able to give a little historic background because I don't know the current information about our member districts and board compensation. But our 287 survey that we used was done in February of 2016. And so this information, of course, is not going to be current anymore. 287 at that time was basically in the middle. So if I'm reading, I want to make sure I'm getting all of the data correct, but the range was approximately $2,400 to $9,000. This is 2016 information. And in 2016, Intermediate District 287 was at $3,300. So we increased it to $4,000 a year.
Okay. And we're going to see if we can hear from May. May, is there anything that you would like
hear
to
me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hurrah! So I typed it in the chat as well, but I don't currently have, I don't have current information on the other intermediate districts board compensation. So I'm sorry, I don't have that information for you tonight.
Thank you. That's okay. We put you on the spot with that one. And then Ann Becker just put in chat that we could certainly do a new study and review the current data and have that come back to us just so we have that as information as well and decide if there is something that we want to do with that. So thank you,
I know
Ann.
we're all different, the intermediates and type of services and that type of thing. But this past year was quite a bit involvement from members, and it probably won't be like that this year, but I'm just wondering where we stand with other intermediates. So that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you for raising that. I think it's a good question, and I will note that, and we'll follow up with the team to make sure that we get that information back to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, and the board compensation is approved. Next up, we have another resolution. This is appointing the school district responsible authority for January 22 through December 2022 to the Minnesota Department of Education. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? For a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? As this is a roll call vote, Shannon will please call the roll.
You? Shannon Andreessen votes aye. Crystal Brackey.
Aye.
Ann Casey. Ruthie Dallas.
Aye.
Sarah Johansson.
Aye.
Michelle Coons.
Aye.
Jackie Mosqueda Jones.
Aye.
Regina Neville.
Aye.
Francesca Pagan Umar. And Sam Sant.
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. And then I believe our last item of formal business in the organizational meeting is a resolution involving electronic records, signatures, and electronic contracts. Excuse me. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Again, since this is a resolution, Shannon will pull the board.
Thank you. Shannon Andreessen votes aye. Crystal Brackey,
Aye.
Ann Casey,
Aye.
Ruthie Dallas,
Aye.
Sarah Johansson,
Aye.
Michelle Coons,
Aye.
Jackie Mosqueda Jones, Regina Neville,
Aye.
Francesca Pagan Omar,
Aye.
and Sam Sant.
Yes.
And the resolution is approved. Thank you, everybody. The last item is not an action item, but please do review the board member contact information document that's in the board packet to confirm that your information is accurate and up to date. If it is not, please share that with Juanine so that she can update the official file. And of course, if anything changes during the year, please be sure to let us know as well so that we know all of the best ways to reach you. With that, we have reached the end of the organizational meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, and the organizational meeting is adjourned at 6:52 p.m. Thank you, everybody. We are going to move right into our general meeting of the board for Thursday, January 13th, 2022. I call them,
Chair.
yeah.
Would you like to switch places? I think
Sure.
it's appropriate that you have the gavel.
Okay, I hate using the gavel, yes.
Well, you don't have to use the gavel.
Okay,
I tried several times. I don't
Okay.
know my information. I followed the link.
okay.
Oh,
We will
Yeah.
troubleshoot that part with you and then make sure that we get
yeah.
all of the correct contact
Do
information.
you want to look on mine?
Well, I don't know how much I can review all of this, but
And I have not touched the plate.
Oh.
So,
Okay, perfect. I have not either.
yeah, so that's all.
Michelle, thank
Let's
you
have
for
our names on
sharing
them.
with Francesca.
Sure.
On them if you care.
I'm sorry, one more time?
The plates have, the sticker has their name on them.
Oh, well then I'll, in that case.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
So nice to meet you.
Of course I did it wrong.
Nice.
No, why?
Very attentive and Wendy,
Yeah,
you are
yeah, yeah.
amazing as always.
Perfect.
And a shout out to Angela for Angela's Kitchen.
Yes. Who I just ordered meals from for next week. I'm very excited. Okay, Francesca, is there anything more that we can do in the very immediate terms so that you have what you need for tonight?
if we can look on together.
Okay,
that would be-
great.
yeah.
Thank you,
problem.
Michelle. Thanks to both of you. And yes,
Sure.
sorry about that. We'll get you taken care of.
That is all
Um,
Are
right.
we ready to go? Okay.
So have you used board before?
It is 6:53 p.m. on Thursday, January 13th, and I call to order this general meeting of the Intermediate District 287 School Board. Thank you to everybody who is present this evening in the boardroom and online. We're glad to have so many of you participating from the safety of your home or wherever you may be this evening. The other person that I really wanted to acknowledge and appreciate is Assistant Superintendent Elizabeth Lodge Rogers for being here with us this evening in Superintendent Lewandowski's absence. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being here and for taking the helm while she is away. With that, I have asked
Oh,
prior chair, current vice chair Regina Neville to start our meeting by the reading of the mission statement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The mission of Intermediate District 287 is to be the premier provider of innovative, specialized services to ensure that each member district can meet the unique learning needs of its students.
Thank you. And then we will do a round of introductions where please introduce your name and the member district that you represent. And Jackie, can we start with you?
Absolutely. I'm Jackie Mosqueda Jones, and I represent District 279 Osseo Area Schools.
And Casey, proudly representing St. Louis Park.
Sarah Johansson, representing Wayzata.
Andrea Keene, previously representing Wayzata.
We're going to get to you in a minute.
Ruthie Dallas representing Brooklyn Center Community Schools, number 286.
And I am Crystal Brackey from Richfield Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Regina Neville from Edina Public Schools.
Shannon Andreessen, representing Providence Public
Oh. I'm trying to be so helpful.
You're being such a great board mentor. You forgot to introduce yourself.
Oh, you all know me. I'm Michelle Kuntz. I represent Oregon.
And we're so excited to be with us and really look forward to having more opportunities to get to know each other in the coming weeks and months. Next up on the agenda is open forum for community comments. I don't believe we have anybody who has requested to address the board this evening. Is that correct?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we will move to approval of the consent agenda, which is 13 business items. Is there any items that the board member would like to move for individual consideration? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
We have a motion by Sam Stamps and a second by Regina Neville. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes aye. The consent agenda is approved. Next, a very bittersweet item on the agenda, which is to acknowledge and thank departing board directors. We do have Adam Seidel from Missouri who has left the board and is not able to be with us this evening. So Francesca, please extend our gratitude. And I will also, if you are willing, to give you an item of appreciation that you can thank Adam on our behalf. Andrea, team, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and enjoying this beautiful plate of food that Juanine made possible for all of us, and just for the many years of commitment that you have given this district, and I know to Wayzata as well. We are going to miss you dearly, but are so excited for the next chapter. Is there anything that you would like to share about your time on the board or what you are looking forward to next?
Oh, not really.
You're just like, let me get out of here.
No, I think you all know how I feel about my time at 287. I've learned so much. I've learned so much. It's been a highlight of my board service and really my professional life. I have learned so much. Relationships are so special. I really loved it. I'm going to miss you all, but Carol will be fine.
Stay in touch.
Of course.
And we know that you will continue to be a really strong supporter of our students, our staff, and our community here at 287. And with that, here is a small token of appreciation for you from all of us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. Here's the dedication. Oh, it's a pretty clock. That.
Oh, my.
It's really nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is there anything that anybody else would like to share?
Tremendous thanks. If I could, Andrea, because you served so well as vice chair and also on the superintendent transition team. That's a lot of service and such an excellent AMSD rep for your time on the board. So it's a big contribution that you've made. We're really grateful.
Miss Andrea.
I don't have anything actually. I wanted to express my gratitude for this board. As I'm a special education person by profession, and I'm just so thrilled and excited that we have this district available. And I'm very grateful for people like you who make a lot of personal sacrifices to not only serve your home district, but also this one.
Also, I worked in special education at Wayzata as a speech language pathologist before I served on the school board. So I'll tell you that your experience and knowledge will really set you up to be a great contribution to this board. And also, your learning curve won't be quite as steep. I think you'll be surprised by how much you still learn. It's really fun. So welcome.
Michelle, was there something that you wanted to say as well?
Oh, I was just going to express my appreciation of Andrea. Had a lot of fun, and you've done some great work. And I thank you for that. And you better stay in touch.
You know I will. Thank you, Michelle. That means a lot.
Our leaders and our staff and students and families. I remember your first get on the bus when you came, before you began serving on the board. It was an introduction. And your enthusiasm and passion, compassion, and advocacy for our students and families is evident, and it's been wonderful to work with you. And thank you from all of us going across the district.
I'll just add a moment of levity, which is it'll kind of be like you're still around because I'm guessing people are still going to call me Andrea because we are so often confused for each other, especially I think in the age of masks.
Especially when we wear the same
and when we
glasses.
have our glasses on. So every once in a while, hopefully somebody will call me Andrea.
I always take it as a compliment.
Me too.
Someone calls me.
I miss you, Andrea, from the short time I've gotten to know you, and I just love your spirit and energy. We're gonna miss you, AMSD.
I feel like I got to know you at
Great
Delegate Assembly.
reporting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Ruth.
Yeah.
Everyone, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. We're just going to shower you so that you just decide to hang out here at the table with us. But of course, you are welcome to go on with the rest of your evening.
I might stay and listen if that's okay. You're not going to get rid of me that easy.
Can we create a resolution to have like a
I promise I won't say anything or vote.
Okay, perfect. Regina, did you just have your hand up?
I just want to give you a round of applause. I mean, a formal round of applause. And a 287 round of applause.
You guys.
All right. With that, we are going to move on to the Business Services and Labor Relations Report, which this evening is really being led by our FY21 audit presentation. So Jim Eichten, thank you for being with us virtually. May Hawkins, just want to start by saying thank you for the work of you and your team alongside Jim that went into making this audit happen. We know it is a tremendous amount of work. May, is there any sort of introduction that you would like to make? And sorry, Juanina is also trying to get my attention for just a moment.
Can everyone check the microphone and make sure nothing's covering it?
That noise is, sorry about that.
Maybe.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, so with that, Jim, I believe we are turning it over to you.
All right, well, thank you. If you're wondering if the movement of microphones helped, it did. There is much less feedback. There we go. Somebody also chatted that. So
great. Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Again, my name is Jim Eichten. Thanks for the introduction. I'm a managing partner here with MMKR CPAs. I'm here this evening to provide a presentation of the audit results for the district. I do have a PowerPoint to present. I'm not sure everybody can see it. Let's see.
We can see it.
Okay, yep. I'll give it a second here. All right. Looks like you can see that on your end.
We can. Thank you.
Right, great. There we go. So first of all, it's important to understand the role of the auditor. The auditor's role is to provide an opinion on the district's financial statements. The district is required to complete an annual financial statement on an annual basis and submit that financial statement to the Office of the State Auditor as well as the Minnesota Department of Education on an annual basis. It's the role of the auditor to provide opinions on that financial statement, and I'll get to the results shortly. We also are required to provide opinions on the internal controls of the district. as well as your compliance with the laws and regulations as it relates to financial activities of the district. Lastly, or I guess second to last, we are required to complete what's called the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit. The Office of the State Auditor provides us with a list of laws and regulations that we're required to test. We don't test every law that the district is required to follow, just those that are on the list provided by the Office of the State Auditor. Lastly, we complete what's called the Single Audit of Federal Awards, in which we provide an opinion on the schedule of federal awards the district receives. This year, the district received a total of roughly $1.8 million of federal awards, which comes with a significant increase in the level of requirements to follow those particular grants. We also test your controls over the various areas of compliance as it relates to those grants. And then we also issue an opinion on your compliance over major federal programs that are provided by the audit, which in this case was the Comprehensive Literacy Development Grant, which was identified this year as a major program during that particular audit. So as part of this process, we do issue what's called the management report. And in that management report, we provide a summary document that provides the audit results in a nice written format that can be read and understood by the average user. And that is also the tool I'm going to use tonight to provide some information in this PowerPoint. So in that management report, you'll see that we did provide the audit results and the audit opinions. First and foremost, we were able to issue what's called the unmodified opinion, or in this case, probably better described as a clean opinion on that financial statement. We did provide an opinion that you followed governmental accounting standards and the various accounting standards that relate to the intermediate district. You'll see there on the screen, we did not have any findings to report in internal controls or in your compliance reports, nor did we find any findings in the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit as it relates to the list provided by the Office of the State Auditor. Lastly, we did not have any findings to report in the single audit of federal awards. That can be certainly is important to understand that this year as auditors, our team had a number of challenges in the single audit of federal awards as there were significant increase in the number of requirements that were issued by the federal government, given the number or increase in the volume of federal aids that were provided to local governments this past year, as well as the changes in uniform guidance that took place and were relevant as of November of 2020. So the fact that you have no finding, which is somewhat expected at Intermediate 287, many districts this season experienced challenges in that area. So kudos to the district. There were no findings in that particular area. So all in all, you can see the audit results from the compliance perspective were exceptional. You did not have any findings this year, which is excellent. So moving on to the financial results, an audit really has two parts, one of which is the compliance areas, which I just talked about. The second part of an audit is really how you're doing financially. My management report talks a lot about benchmarking and various financial results. I know that the administration provides a lot of good information on financial activities, so I'm not going to really touch on all the details in that report. You can read it and understand some of the financial activities that are occurring. But some of the highlights for me stand out here. This particular graph that you see on the page is a trend line of fund balances as a percentage of expenditures statewide, as well as the intermediate district's percentages. This is a calculation that is really a statewide and MDE calculation using the formulas that are defined in statutory operating debt. And you can see on that particular presentation that fund balances were pretty steady statewide over quite a few number of years, kind of settling at 20%. And they did actually increase in 2020, which was mostly related to the pandemic. Some of the operating activities and some of the costs of providing cost of operating a school district went on pause due to the pandemic in late 2020, causing some subtle increases in fund balances throughout the state. You can see the intermediate district, which is the green line, has been very consistent with statewide percentages. As you can see, in 2020, the fund balances did decline, which was expected in the district's budget. But overall, you can really get a sense for the stability in the overall fund balance of the district by looking at that graph over a 10-year period. It's very consistent from one year to the next. In my management report, we get into individual fund balance financial positions. Again, this is a graph showing the equity position, the fund balance of the district over the 5 years presented. Here again, you're seeing the consistency and overall financial position of the district, the stability of its overall equity position. You can also see that the cash balances of the district do fluctuate. This is just one data point at the end of every year, but you can see it was significantly different from one year to the next, which is really highlighted. Actually, I'm going to go on this one. Also, in this particular graph, which shows the general fund cash flow on a month-to-month basis, and you can see that the cash flow of the district does actually follow a pretty consistent trend, but does have very highs and very lows throughout the year, really showing the need for fund balance at the district, which I'm going to get to here in a little bit. I'll go back to this particular graph. So at the end of fiscal year 2022, you can see on this particular presentation, these are the various fund balances at the end of the year, showing various categories. At the end of the year, the district had a slight decline in the overall fund balance of about 2.3 million. This compares to a projected fund balance decline of about 5.5. So there was better than projected results overall. This particular graph does also show some of the various categories of fund balance that have been identified as either assigned amounts or are being restricted by outside entities, specifically the state of Minnesota, in their statutory requirements. Some of the ones that stand out to me specifically are amounts set aside for severance obligations, as well as for subsequent year's budget, which is really setting money aside for next year's budget deficit, as well as amounts set aside for tuition adjustments. The MDE does make a number of adjustments in the special education formula post year end, so money is set aside in case some of the contingencies in that particular area hold true. Probably the most important percentage as it relates to the board that you would want to pay attention to, specifically on an audit, is the fund balance as a percentage of expenditures that is utilized in the district's fund balance policies. District does have a fund balance policy that endeavors to maintain an unassigned fund balance of at least 6 to 8%. And as you can see on the that particular presentation on the graph, at the end of June of 2021, that percentage is 8.6%.
Excuse me, before you go any further, can you tell me which years each column is sharing for me? Because I don't see it on there. I might be missing it.
You are not missing it. That is my error in the presentation, and my apologies. So the fund balance columns go from fiscal year to June 30th, 2018, 19, 20, and 21. So the very right column is 2021. So you can see, the very great question. Thanks for that observation. You can see on the very right-hand column that the year ended June 30th, 2021, which is that column, ended the year at 8.6%. That percentage is above the minimum percentages in the district's fund balance policy, which is anywhere from 6 to 8%. You can also see that for all the years presented, again, the stability in that particular fund balance going really at a low point of 8.6, which is not low, but lower in this graph, to a high of 9.8%, which is utilizing, again, very stable environment at the district. I will continue on There we go. Covered that one. So in my management report, we do provide information on the various fund accounts of the district. I'm not going to provide a lot of detail in this particular area. I did want to touch on a couple of areas of note that stood out in this particular audit presentation. In particular, you can see the special education account here showing trend lines. Thankfully, I have the years presented on this one. But you can see here that the special ed account ended the year with an excess deficiency of about 1.3 million. But overall, you can see that the trend lines of overall revenues are fairly consistent. Expenditures are increasing mainly in the salaries and benefits areas in the special education account. We do provide information on career and tech, which is certainly a much smaller a particular program. We also provide information on the academic education account. This one stood out to me this past year, as the academic education account did see some declines in overall revenues, specifically due to the decrease in students in the Northern Star Online program. That particular program was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the overall programming that related to that. We also want to probably one more highlight here in the district-wide account. When I look at this particular graph, you can see some of the trend lines in this particular area. But overall, this particular account really was affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, as a number of projects were delayed, as well as some of the expenditures of the district were lower given the hybrid learning environment that also occurred in the special education area as well. So overall, the audit results are very positive this year, as they have been in the past. You do see here that we're able to provide a clean opinion on the district's financial statements. We did not have any findings in the single audit of federal awards that occurred this year, as well as no findings overall in this particular audit year. We are experiencing or seeing in the trend lines and information provided that the district has a very stable financial position. They do have a fund balance policy in place that is ended the year above that particular range. And then lastly, I just want to express the continued excellent financial record keeping and the positive nature of the audit process, as well as information we receive in the process is very efficient and does provide for a smooth audit. And this year was no different. So I will stop presenting, and you can, I'll open it up for questions that anybody might have for me.
Thank you, Jim. It's always really fun to hear words like exceptional and excellent in audit presentations. And so May, Gloria, kudos to you and your entire team for sparking that type of response. Elizabeth, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to add as far as.
Just to express our appreciation to our May and Gloria and their team, and the protocols and procedures they put in place to make all the rest of us be able to do what we need to do to lead to that. Thank you, May and Gloria, and thank you, Jim. It's always a pleasure to hear your presentations as well. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the board? Sam.
So our financials look very good, and that's great to see, for us as member districts. There was a few months back where we got a presentation talking about our reserve balances, being significantly depleted. Was that a forecast, or do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. May, would you like to respond to that question? Could you hear it?
Yeah, so I think you're referring to when we presented the revised budget, right? So at this point in time, we're presenting the actual amounts for 2021. And then also when we presented the budget for the upcoming year, we are using fund balance again for 21-22. Lori, did you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I just thought maybe he was talking about the presentation in December. when we went over the audit numbers and the decrease in fund balance reserves that we talked about at that time.
Yes.
To support like the Northern Star online program. So that Jim touched on it a little bit, that we had used reserves of 2 point some million this year and had forecasted it at about 5. So came in lower than we expected, but we did still use some of those reserves.
Sam, did that get at your question?
Yes.
Other questions or comments? Okay, this is an action item. We are being asked to accept the audited financial report for the year ended June 30th, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
So we have a motion by Ann Casey and a second by Sam Sant. Any final discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye, and the audited financial report is accepted. Congratulations, and thanks to everybody's hard work for making this possible. And Jim, thank you for being with us again this evening.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to the superintendent's report, which this evening contains a distance learning update that Dr. Elizabeth Lodge Rogers and Ben McGrath are going to present for us. So I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know we updated the board on our transition or move to distance learning this week. And Ben and I provided you with a written update, so I won't go through that specifically, but wanted to let you know it always is a very hard decision. We know and believe firmly that our in-person learning is the best for our students. But we arrived at a point where we just didn't feel operationally we could proceed, both in terms of staffing and the difficulty of trying to balance and cover classes in a variety of ways. And so we kind of reached that point. I heard the Minneapolis superintendent talk about a kind of that tipping point, and we reached that. So we are out, we are in distance learning. Yesterday was a planning day for our teachers and staff, a lot of energy around that. And then today and tomorrow, staff are actually in the buildings as they're able, providing in a team format, the distance learning. So kind of get that working well. And then next week, we'll be able to opt to work remotely or come into the building for. And then our hope and plan is to return to in-person on January 24th, Monday the 24th. So at this time, I'm happy, Ben and I are happy to answer any questions about that transition to distance learning.
Yeah. Go ahead, Regina.
Yes, Regina.
I'd just like to express my gratitude to you, to Ben, Sandy, and your entire team involved in making this decision, because it's complex. We're all struggling with it, and it's going to be difficult, but you've really kept the students at the center of this decision. We appreciate it. So thank you. Much gratitude.
I have a
Sure.
question. I'm wondering, has there been any discussion or is there any ability to offer in-person learning for those students that might really need it?
We really wrestled with that because there's some of that language around offering an option and also knowing what's really best for our students is to be in person. And so knowing that we didn't feel at this point in time that we could operationally function with our staffing, and we have been keeping track of the data, and last Friday and Monday hit 25% of our student-facing staff out. And for us, although our leaders and staff did a great job of moving and covering, for our students to have unfamiliar staff working with them, or if we were, and we did it in some cases, try to combine classrooms, it's very difficult and can be very distressing to our students. So at this point, we are not offering an in-person because the logistics of trying to do that with reduced staffing, we really believe that if that were an option, that many of our families would opt in. And so we know that. So our hope is that this small break will allow us to return. The other thing is our Director of Special Education, Melissa Broading, developed a way to track engagement and participation of these 6 days of distance learning. And we're asking teams to check in and complete a rubric individually on each student on their participation. That will go into a central database, also available to the teachers and teams and school leaders. But we're asking them to do that tomorrow and kind of say, how did the first 2 days go? So that by Tuesday, we can correct and adjust and then check in again as the week goes on. And hopefully, we get to be back in person on the 24th, but it also may help us identify some students that this just isn't working well for, and were we to need to go forward with more days of distance, we might have to think again about how we would proceed with that. But that's one way we're trying to attend to the needs of the students on a very individual basis, but also monitor that across our districts. I'm real appreciative of that work because that's work for our teams and staff. Everyone's been great. Our operational staff turned on a dime to help with meals and delivery of materials. Our leaders at the operational level, instructional level, all have been working nonstop. And our school staff have come in and just really had that time yesterday without students to really team and plan and refine the plans that we'd asked them to put together earlier in anticipation of weather events, but to connect with families and try to get that. So we're hopeful, but no, we considered it and just couldn't see how we could do the in-person.
Thanks.
Still
That's what I was
struggling with
wondering
that.
What the discussion and the rationale behind it was.
Mhm.
And also really excited about this engagement tracking
Mhm.
and how that can be used perhaps for targeted supports
Yes.
moving forward. So that's
Absolutely.
that's great. And then I was also wondering, our staff at the point where next week starts, are staff able to opt into coming in or stay home and that's
Yes.
their decision? They
It's
get
their-
to make that?
It is their decision, yes.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate your work on this.
Yeah, so I have a question, Dr. Rogers, to help catch me up. Are you aware of, and can you share with us, what's the rate of vaccination among our students and among our staff?
For our staff, we are at the last data that I saw, and I'll kind of lean in on Ben. I think we are right around 80% of our staff vaccinated. Our students, I believe, was 48, 49. And Ben, please jump in if I'm recalling those numbers incorrectly, but I believe we were at about half, correct?
Yeah, I don't have it right in front of me either, but those numbers sound pretty close to me. Yep.
And also, Dr. Rogers, if you could, to catch me up, what are additional, you don't have to go through all of the details, but of some of the higher level efforts to mitigate spread that is going on, if there's masking and just a little brief detail of some of that.
And that's why we really, that's a great question, because we have been told repeatedly by the Minnesota Department of Health that we're hitting a gold standard with masking and our HVAC systems and boosting that. We also have our staff are able to test every week on site. And so that's probably our best, one of our best efforts, in addition to masking and hand washing and social distancing when able. That's a little more challenging for us. But the testing, and then we have the rapid tests for students who may be symptomatic to assess whether they can stay and keep them in school, and for our staff as well who may be symptomatic. That we just started this week.
And with increased testing comes increased positivity rates. And I can
Exactly.
see how being so thoughtful and careful
Yeah.
can increase the
Yeah.
shortages of staff.
Yeah.
And we do have a district-wide mask policy, so that
Yes.
is consistent across all buildings for everybody in our buildings.
As much as possible with the,
As much as possible with our students.
well, it sounds like you're doing everything possible, but as we know, the Omicron variant is immune resistant. And even with, cloth masks and surgical masks and so forth, hopefully this will pass shortly.
Yep, yes. And this week we were able to issue KN95 masks to our staff as well. And, we keep working on mitigation, but we also know we just need to know who is symptomatic, who is ill, and work from there too. So we're hopeful.
I think too, it's important to note that District 287 was one of the first districts, I think, in the state to require vaccines of staff. So that's something which allowed, I think, to have this great testing protocol in place. So I think that that's of note as well.
Thank you so much for catching me up on it.
Actually, I do have another.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the same thing about the OSHA got struck down by the Supreme Court today, but ours predated that, so.
Yes.
What kind of, I guess, do our students, when they're at home, have the same ratio of support? Or how are they getting the support that they need when they're at home?
It looks different depending on the student and their needs. Because our educational assistants are also engaged in the distance learning process, there's some support happening that way via digital, right? And it's primarily families, and that's hard, that's tough.
We do have our educational assistants engaging
Mhm.
along with
And they're in the milieu, right? That distance learning milieu together with the students.
they have a part in the feedback process?
Yes. In fact, they'll be integral to that.
Are meals being provided to our students, families?
There was a process for families to indicate that they'd like meals, and we had the option to pick them up at any of our sites wherever the student resides closest to, or have it delivered tomorrow, Friday. Had to think for a minute. So, yeah.
So then that would be for the week, but
Yes, and May can probably clarify. I believe we're doing 3 days, and then we'll do another delivery next week.
Nope, it is for the entire period.
Is it part-time? Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I wasn't sure if we had enough supplies delivered to do that.
That's wonderful.
That's good, yeah. Thanks, May. We also, just to remind everyone, the district had MiFis available for students that don't have access, and so we evaluated that, and we issue those, and our students and families do that, and staff were organizing that and getting everyone set up and delivering and talking with folks and getting that going. Anything else, Ben? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I do have one question. How is it what's the temperature among families and staff? Does 287 often hear a lot from families once you make those moves? And how are families receiving this? Like, are they relieved for limited
This,
exposure?
we had our attendance, our student attendance was running about 50%, and not all of that. That was some of it's transition coming back from the winter break, right? Some of it is students who are ill or with symptoms or in quarantine. And then many of our families were opting to keep their students home because of the infectious rates. And so this way we were realizing that we were probably going to get at least some educational programming to our students or make that available with that 48, 49% absent rate. So this time we haven't had that level, we haven't had concerns expressed by families. Not at the rate that we experienced when we had longer periods of distance learning, understandably. I think folks were pretty understanding of the need, and our staff were really feeling like they were just about at their tipping point in terms of low staffing and folks ill and outbreaks. So they're pretty relieved to have this time.
Thank you. I think it's very responsible, and I know it's really hard, and we see districts where they try to walk this middle ground, and I'm glad to see that the health of your students and your staff were the priority.
Thank you. Well said. Any final comments or questions? Okay, thank you. Elizabeth and Ben, thank you for being here and chiming in as well. We appreciate it. There is no instructional report this evening, so we will move to the board business section of the agenda. No policy review or revision, no board chair report. As far as an AMSD report, Andrea has been our go-to AMSD reporter for quite some time. The most recent thing that occurred was the legislative preview. Were any board members able to attend who would like to just say a few words about it? Go ahead.
There's a surplus, but it's having early board meetings, and it would be very contentious.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's a good summary.
Big question marks in the policy year and potentially billions of dollars on the table.
Yeah.
Did anyone talk about the constitutional amendment?
Briefly.
Yes.
And it was bipartisan agreement on the part of the legislators present that they were not in favor of it. But that's pretty much where the conversation started and ended. It was not an in-depth conversation.
There was agreement.
Yes, they
Across the aisle.
there was on that one thing.
For different reasons.
Yes.
To be very clear. For different reasons. But
So the next items on the agenda are actually, and I'm just sharing this especially for Francesca and Sarah, so you have a sense of what these things are. These are really reference documents that are part of each agenda. The school board planning calendar is a more detailed calendar just to give you a sense of upcoming topics that will be in board meetings. The board event calendar is sort of a high level calendar of board meetings and other events that may be of interest to board members. And then one of the things that you will see on there is the Get on the Bus or the local 2209 board breakfast schedule. So Get on the Bus is an opportunity for board members and other guests to actually go experience our site, spend time with our students, with our staff. And it is a just incredibly helpful way to get that firsthand perspective into the work that we do and why we are all here as board members. So highly recommend if it's something you're ever able to do with your schedule. That's correct, because the next one of those is scheduled for Tuesday, February 8th at the West Education Center in Hennepin Tech. So I would say probably stay tuned for updates as to whether that is going to be a safe and responsible event. And then the local 2209 is our joint union of our instructional staff and our support staff. And so there, I believe, are there 4 a year? Early morning breakfasts where board members, leadership team members, and members of that union come together and just have a meal and discuss things that are on each other's minds. And it has been virtual in the past, so I would again say probably stay tuned to see whether Tuesday, February 22nd would be in person and it is actually here in this building, or whether there will be a virtual option as well. If you are interested in attending those events, you just get in touch with Juanine and she will make sure that you are on the list and people know to expect you. And then the last item on the agenda every meeting is called Once Around the Table. And that is just an open time for general announcements, things people want to share, sometimes from their member districts that are happening, or also I think is a time to request items for future discussion. So is there anything that anybody would like to share for Once Around the Table this evening? Sam, go ahead.
Or I saw Regina's hand go up.
Doesn't matter. Just a quick update for anybody who is attending MSBA. It's my humble honor to co-present with Radius guests tomorrow at 9:15. We're going to be working with the Racial Equity Impact Analysis tool. So if anybody is present and wants to come and ask really good questions, that would be great. Thank you.
Awesome. Actually, two things now. One was our chair, now Helen Bassett, was awarded at MSB 20 years of service at Robbinsdale. So we're very happy for that. Most of us attended the luncheon and our superintendent did as well. And sorry?
She served here as well.
She did years ago, yeah. Here in WEMAP and now the chair of Robbinsdale. And my other announcement was that last week at our board meeting, we did hear back that we received grant funding from the state of $1.3 million to invest in community schools.
Oh, nice.
For three of our schools that we're going to start
Fantastic.
Great, Sam.
as a pilot program in the fall to two middle schools and a high school. And if it's a success, hopefully you can get more funding, and urge the rest of you and all your districts to try to do the same. I know Brooklyn Center has had it for years. That's where I first learned about it, and it's a great program and can really help families in throughout our whole state, even as well as our district.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah.
Well, I'm a little late in this, but I'll do it because I did not say anything, and I do just want to say thank you to my friend and mentor and emotional support, a human, and such. But Andrea, thank you again on just behalf of Wayzata for all that you do and for bringing me up to speed and making me feel so welcome here tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Emotional support human. I like that.
So we will miss her dearly. We already do. But promise to do my best. I've learned a little bit from her, a lot from her.
I have just a quick announcement. Just wanted everyone to know that Steve Adams from Hopkins Public Schools was awarded an All-State Award at MSBA.
Oh, yahoo.
You all will remember Steve's service. So that was fun to see him get that recognition that is very well deserved for all his advocacy throughout the years. And I think that's about it going on. Oh, and Hopkins, we just got the notice that our secondary schools are going to be doing the same thing that District 287 is doing, taking a little pause to hopefully regroup and get our staffing back to where it needs to be for in-person learning. So.
Okay, the final item is adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion by Ruthie Dallas and a second by Michelle Coons. Any final discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The chair votes aye. The meeting is